All right. Good evening, everyone. This is a call to order for the ad hoc district-wide branding initiative meeting on none other than today is January 5th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at Central High School Library. Tonight, I would like to thank our board members, Mr. Albert Benahan and Ms. Castillo, for joining us this evening. Also, thank you to our staff, for our IT staff and our staff of the Board of Education to join us as well. At this moment, I will entertain, and Mr. Sokolovic. Yes. Mr. Sokolovic for joining us tonight. Make sure you get in. For joining us tonight, and Ms. Perrin for joining us as well. At this moment, I would like to entertain a motion to approve December committee meeting on today. Can I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Benahan, second by Ms. Castillo. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes. At this moment, we're gonna have discussion and possible action on renewing the RFQ bullet points to find a marketing agency for the district. I know that Ms. Castillo, dang, I forgot we were supposed to send it to you, Sam. Ms. Castillo did a good job at drafting some meeting bullet points for this particular item. If you give me a moment, I can send it.
Email it.
Yes, I can email it to Sam in just 1 second.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
just to let you know, I'm driving just in case the connection go away. I'm gonna try to connect back.
Got it. You're fine. Hold on, Mr.
Thank you.
Sam, 1 second. All right, Sam, it's been sent. You probably have to take it out of the email. It's in an email. And I forgot to mention Mrs. Siegel and Mr. Pires for joining us this evening.
The file that you sent me?
No, it's an actual email. So we might have to copy it out of the actual email.
Ms. Brown, we have a draft RFQ, which includes those bullet points, if you'd like us to proceed.
Yes, please. Go right ahead. So my apologies. Go right ahead. Ms. Siegel has it.
Okay.
Yep. And Mr. Tony.
All right, thank you. Good evening to everyone. Tony Pires and I are on the call in order to present the draft RFQ. In a moment, I'm going to share my screen.
You don't have it, Marlene. I have it ready.
Very good. So this is the draft RFQ. It is labeled an RFQ, request for qualifications for a crisis management public relations firm. And I'm going to ask Tony, who composed the initial draft, which we reviewed and edited together, to make the presentation. Tony?
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
So we took the bullet points that were sent and we inserted into a pretty standard RFQ, which is a request for qualifications that typically gets issued before something like this happens. And we introduced it into the legal language that normal RFQs contain. And I was hoping that you guys had a chance to look at it and review it, but if not, we can go through it and you can tell me if there's any changes that you would like to make, or if you want to have any discussion on the actual bullet points, you can please do so. So it's up. I mean, Marlene, you can
Yes, I think it's important to review the 5 bullet points that were identified by the committee. Risk assessment, mitigation and consultation services, reputation management, full service crisis communication planning, crisis communication training for administrators and senior staff in the district, and development and implementation of crisis response plans, including training. We did include that the expectation would be for a 3-year term, commencing on or about a specific date. Obviously, the start date would depend upon the final selection, but there would also be an option to renew for up to 2 additional years. The city ordinance does allow for contracts to range up to 5 years. And we emphasized that it would be the intent of the Board of Education to engage the selected firm when under contract on an as needed and as requested basis to provide designated services, each with a specified goal at the contracted hourly rate based on the rate schedule included in the contract. And in terms of operating practice, would be the superintendent on behalf of the board who would request the quotation based on the contracted rate schedule prior to authorizing initiation of any service. This is a similar procedure to the procedure used for legal services. It's as needed and as requested.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Siegel. I had an opportunity to read through the bullet points, and obviously this will go to contracts and move further, but I'm going to open it up for Ms. Castillo and Mr. Banahan to ask any questions concerning this, and then we'll open it up to the our staff that's here.
No, Ms. Brown, I don't have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Castillo?
Yeah, I just had one question for Marlene. I'm curious about the addition for a 3-year contract. Is that standard practices? Where did the 3 years come from?
Yeah,
It has been standard practice to specify at a minimum a 3-year term. You could specify a 4-year term or a 5-year term initially. Prior to last June, when I believe it was last June, when the city council approved extending contracts from 3 years to 5 years, we would always include in RFPs and RFQs a 3-year term. Then in anticipation of the change in the regulation by the city council, we started to include a 3-year term with an option to extend or renew for up to 2 additional years. So you do have an option at your discretion of specifying in the RFQ that the initial agreement will be for a 5-year period, or you could specify a 4-year period. I do recommend, if it's for a period of less than 5 years, including the option to renew.
Got it. Did that answer your question, Ms. Castillo?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Is there any concern? Wait, I'll go back. Mr. Sokolovic, any concerns? And then we'll go.
Yeah, well, one concern and a little bit of confusion, maybe. I didn't expect an RFP. I didn't really read this because I'm just looking at it now. But let's see. I think I missed a step, or the committee missed a step. Because prior to issuing an RFQ and all putting staff to work, the board should approve this because it's possible expenditure as a use of staff services, as we went through with the prior chair setting out RFQs and RFPs.
No,
we
didn't send it. Nothing is sent out. This is just draft.
Right. Yeah. Even being a draft, Mr. Pires' service was used and Ms. Siegel's services were used. If it goes to the full board and we don't approve it, I'm not commenting either way whether we want it or not. But if we do in fact say we do not want to go in this direction, the use of their time would have been wasted. You could-
But they're already on staff.
Yeah,
right? So they're
that's-
already
that's
being
why.
paid to do that. So it's not an additional fee. So that's how I look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah, but it is taking them away from other work that could be being done in the interim. But anyway, and that's the process and the protocol as it has been since I've been on the board. But I'm just saying that
Okay.
it could be like this is the time. I mean, what if this got to the point where I'm not saying it did. What if it got to the point where they put 20, 30 hours into a piece of work that the board didn't even really truly want? So just going forward, I would suggest to
To bring it to the.
get their full board first to approve
Before-
for the
okay.
desire to.
Mr. Sokolovich, I'll take the blame for that. I was trying to be proactive and trying to get stuff done ahead of time. So if anyone just to blame for going ahead and getting the work done, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I understand your point. I understand your
Right, yeah,
where you come from.
yeah, thanks, because we just gotta, I'm a procedure kind of guy, and it wouldn't be fair to have.
I
a
thought that this
procedure
was referred, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's not just a formality. In this case, it might be a formality, but in other cases where it might be more, then it's not a formality. So it's best that we always follow the protocols. And thank you, Mr. Pires, for that. And it's just really not trying to not blame or what have you. It's just something we could do better in the future.
Got it. Well, it was referred by a board member. That's why we added it
Right.
as an agenda item, but I didn't understand the process. So,
No worries.
Ms. Castillo?
I mean, is this not the process? What alternatively, like if it's referred in a board meeting as an agenda item to our committee, then I imagine this is the process, correct? I mean, what is the alternative, Mr. Sokolovic?
Well, the process is, okay, now the committees have limited power.
Mm-hmm.
We are limited in power. We cannot spend money or certain resources. RFPs and RFQs are sometimes time sensitive. It gets referred to the board. Like we can refer to finance to explore the possibility of buying a new building. Finance cannot then go out and say, okay, let's buy this building. We got to refer that back to the full board. We, on the committees.
That's what we're doing though.
Right, no, this is an actual document that's already been prepared as such.
Well, I believe the intent, this was a draft document, and I believe the intent of the committee when they asked us to develop it was to review it in committee and then take it to the contracts committee. If upon approval by the approval of the draft by this committee, to take it to the contracts committee.
Mm-hmm.
And the contracts committee, upon approval, would bring it to the full board for review and consideration.
That was our thought behind it.
Right.
So that's wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way I read it. I could be reading it wrong, but we've always had RFPs and RFQs go through a process of full board approval to go out to bid, to go prepare an RFP and RFQ, as I'm sure Mr. Pires actually.
I think if anything, we're ahead of it. We're ahead of it. So, like Ms. Siegel mentioned, this should still be reviewed by this committee. And then it should be referred to contracts for their review as well. And then from there, the contracts committee will decide whether or not to forward it to the full board, and then the full board will approve it to be released. Or disapprove it. Granted that in most cases, at this level, it's not this complete, but I don't think there's any harm in having it this complete, even though knowing that it still has to go through all the steps for the approval and the issuance of it.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents.
Right. Yeah. But just going forward, like all this work could be moved.
Mm-hmm.
Is basically all I'm saying. And it's right at this point. It's such a small amount of money that's really, like you said, we're ahead of the game and some time out. But
okay.
Well,
that's-
I did want to indicate on page 8, which is on the screen, item number 5, I did add, it is projected that the annual expenditure for crisis management public relations services would be in the range of 2,500 to 50,000. I think you have to specify a range, both in terms of fiscal constraint, but also to convey information to the potential bidders about the size of the contractual arrangement. There may be some firms that are not interested in engagements that would involve expenditures in this range.
And again, this is all subject to you approving it or disapproving it, changing it, and picking a number that you're comfortable with. So
Right.
just because it's in writing here doesn't mean that it's a final document. It still needs to go through all of the steps of review and the approval steps that
Okay, those are just the points I raised for now.
No, that's fine. I'll open up for Ms. Perrin. Any questions, concerns?
No, she clarified it in number 5, what I was going to ask about. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Without further ado, I don't have any comments or concerns. Pretty much, Ms. Siegel pretty much answered all of mine as well. And now that we have clarification on that specific process, our hope is that if this moves to a vote to move this to contracts, then that will be the next step, correct? Mr. Sokolovic?
I'd still like to, as a formality, to just go through the full board to see if we want to go through this process. I have no problem with going through the process. It's just as an added agenda items to research an RFP, blah, blah, blah. Because normally, Tony, I'm sorry, Mr. Pires.
that's okay. You can call me Tony. It's fine.
Normally you get your direction from the full board, correct?
Normally committees will have discussion. Usually it goes to the chair, and the chair usually notifies the superintendent as to whether or not they want to go through RFP or not. So that's usually been the chain of command. Obviously it's your prerogative to change it if you like, but I don't think it needs to have a full board approval to issue an RFP unless you feel that it's necessary. I think a consensus is enough. If there's a need, sometimes the timing of it all it calls for it to be expedited, so we don't have time to go through all those processes. In this case, if you choose to do it that way, it's perfectly fine.
Thoughts?
I think
You feel more comfortable with it going to the board?
yeah, I think it's actually a process, something written in there, something written somewhere.
Okay.
That's the way it's supposed to be done. If I'm not, I could, like I started off, I could be mistaken, but.
So then I guess my question is, so from this process, are we presenting this document to the full board? And I'm just trying to figure out what are we supposed to do?
From what I gather, if you're going to go to the full board, you create an agenda item that would discuss the possibility of the discussion of soliciting a marketing firm and whether or not there's an appetite to do that.
Correct.
Before you even present this is down the line.
Draft.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Like I said, maybe just a formality, and I could possibly be wrong, but even if I am, it would probably be the best practice to get ahead of things like this,
Okay.
just in case the full board doesn't want something like this, which is not the case here.
All right. So what we'll do is I'm gonna let Mr. Benahan say his piece, and then we'll move forward from there. Go ahead, Mr. Benahan.
I agree with what Mr. Joe Sokolovic said, and I would prefer to go through the whole board, please.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do is, Mr. Pires and Ms. Marlene, thank you for preparing this document. We will add this to the next full board meeting as an agenda item, and then if it moves from there, then we'll pick it back up again.
I believe you need to vote in committee. Is that correct,
Yes.
Mr. Sokolovic? Yeah, I believe you need to vote in this committee to
Yeah.
Yeah, to refer to the full board.
Yeah, to do that.
Correct.
refer to
Alright,
the full
so-
board.
So I will entertain a motion for someone to send this to the full board for approval.
So move.
Not for approval, but
So moved.
for agenda items.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan,
Second.
second by Ms. Castillo. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. So we'll move it to the full board for discussion and we'll come back again if it's been approved that way. Thank you, Ms. Siegel and Mr. Pires. We apologize
You're
for,
welcome. No problem.
For
Yeah.
me,
it's okay.
Thank you.
We're all learning here. We are learning. All right. Then our next agenda item on there is all Mrs. Henry's. And I'm gonna go back up just to read it into the record correctly. Discussion and possible action on survey outcomes for the new district logo. And Mr. Sam you do have this? Yes? No?
Okay, I will forward it to you. I apologize.
You know, sometimes I think if it's in he gets the packet, so my bad. I'll make sure to do that next time.
Right, sorry. Sam, your last name is?
Rini, M-A-R-I-N-I. I think
Perfect.
I might have.
I just forwarded it to you. It's the PDF in the email from Jeff.
I got the whole packet. Is it in the packet?
Yes, it's in the board packet. Do you?
Oh, okay.
Arlene sent it to me.
Yeah, so if she sent you, yep, if she sent you that, then it's in there.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Start here.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. So based on our last meeting, we had determined that we would send out a survey to the community, staff, and students to solicit feedback about whether or not they felt that the logo we had selected reflected the district that we serve. We actually had a pretty strong survey response rate. Surveys generally don't get too many respondents. We had close to 4,000 responses. We sent out reminders multiple times through Parent Square. We sent it at different times of day. Jeff Haslowski controlled that part of it, so he sent it through. We sent, if you look on the third page of the packet in front of you, you can see what was sent out with the general description and bullet points that we had talked about, and then the Likert scale of strongly oppose all the way up to strongly favor. The total respondents, as you can see, they're overwhelmingly high in the fives. The average from parents and families was just over 4, and the average from staff and students was 3.79. I believe our conversation was that if it was below 3, we would revisit, but the overall rating is strong. So it was well received by folks in the district.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll open it up for Mr. Benahan and Ms. Castillo to read any comments or concerns.
Yes, I have a comment. Ms. Brown.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, the way I see the survey, my opinion, my comment is like you make the parents mandatory vote yes. I don't see that survey look like at what parents their opinion, what they like and what they don't like. I know in the last time meeting, Ms. Castillo said, do not try to put like if you like it or not, because people will make comment. But the way that survey went out is like you make parents don't have no choice to vote yes or vote, whatever, then, words that they don't have no choice to make by their own opinion and make or say what they like and what they don't like or what they can add something. That's the way I see it. So that's the one I just want to say that.
Just to
And
add a
also,
comment.
and also, I know Ms. Herring sent us the percents of the vote of the logo, but my question is, um, where I can see the surveys of the parent, where they come, where they come from, who's the parents, what school, who vote yes or who vote no.
I don't believe we track demographic information on this survey for families.
Okay.
It was sent out to Parent Square through all the Power School accounts in the district so that anyone with an enrolled student in Bridgeport Public Schools would get the survey option. And Jeff set it up. I don't believe that it collected the parent data.
No, it didn't
No.
collect it. No, I know it because we didn't request that when we
Right.
were setting it up. We didn't
Mhm.
request to have that parent data. We said we were going to set it up as a Likert scale with
Mhm.
1 being the lowest rating, 5
Mhm.
being the highest. We didn't talk about those other pieces.
Right. And also, Mr. Banahan, we did agree to not having open-ended questions, that it would be a rating scale
Mhm.
so that we can keep it, we can determine whether or not we need to come back after. If it was 3s across the board, we would come back and entertain it one more time. So that was what we all agreed to that day, was to just make sure that they had the option of from 1 to 5, and they can select from that scale up or down, not open-ended because of how many people will be sent out to.
No, I understand that, Ms. Brown. I know you guys agree for that. I remember that day, but that was the way I see him. My
Mhm.
opinion, and whoever vote for this had to be parents and students, whatever they have access for Parent Square.
Yeah. Wait, say it again?
The person votes for this, it had to be only parents or students that can vote.
And teachers.
And teachers, parents,
And
teachers,
teachers.
and students.
And staff too.
And
Staff.
staff,
And staff.
and staff.
Yeah, it wasn't just teachers.
Okay. How the let's say kindergarten and first and second grade make this vote?
Their parents would have.
Parents. Okay.
Yeah,
All
as
right.
long as if they had a active email that's associated with their student account, then they would have received this survey option to be able to complete.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Perry. No more comments, Ms. Brown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banahan. Ms. Castillo?
I'm very satisfied with the results. Hindsight's always 20/20. I think the 4s and the 2s kind of dilute. I almost wish it was like a scale of 1 to 3. That way it would be more clearly like I like it, I don't like it, or I'm neutral, and that would be, I think, more pointed data. But anyway, I'm ultimately I'm very satisfied with the results, and I think I'm not really surprised that the majority of the district, or the majority of those who responded, agreed that the logo that we collaborated on does represent the district well.
Thank you. Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, can I just a couple of questions?
Mhm.
The family sentiment, that's only counting parents on Parent Square?
Anyone registered in Power School, and it's not just emails, it's text messages too. So anyone registered in Bridgeport Public Schools with their students, they can receive this via email or text message.
No, just what I'm asking is, are the students double counted possibly in families?
Are you asking in regards to is it a separate student vote and a family vote, or is it a chance for a child to be able to vote more than once? That's what I'm.
Correct. That wouldn't skew the results any much.
Right.
I'm just curious about that.
I believe students are eligible to vote and their parents are eligible to vote, but they each only get one.
Yeah.
So the students and staff are counted in here, and unfortunately, it was a lower response rate. There were only 700.
Right, yeah. That,
Whereas the families were a substantial.
yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty much more than 10%. The families get one vote?
Families get one vote.
Family votes.
Correct.
Because that's not a bad turnout.
Right.
From what I've seen over the
Mhm. Agreed.
over 10%, or maybe over 15% of the parents responded. And it looks like the parents usually go with their students. So if you look at the student staff sentiment, I would assume it's probably the staff that dragged it down at 3.79. But
I'm not sure of who did what, but
right, yeah, so just like I said, but it seems a pretty good turnout. And actually, I do like the 1 through 5 system because you can see only 500, probably 700 and change. Basically, did not like the idea, and the vast majority either are neutral or approving.
I like it. In our last meeting, Mr. Banahan asked for the characters to have more detail. I did reach out to the designer and request that. His response to me, sorry, I just had it up here for you, is that he would not recommend adding more detail as a logo is supposed to be as simple as possible.
But wasn't the smile added?
The smiles were added.
That was
Mr. Banahan had a piece of clip art that he liked as an example where the students had caps and gowns and graduation hats on and that sort of thing. But the designer is recommending that detail will complicate the logo.
Looks good to me. Great job.
Okay. Ms.
Ms.
Perrin?
Brown, can I?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Mr. Banahan.
No, go with Ms. Perry first, please.
Okay, Ms. Perrin?
No, I didn't have anything
Okay.
to say. I read.
Okay, Mr. Banahan?
Thank you, Ms. Henry, for your information, but I'm very surprised that the designer say that because I will mail you what a friend of mine, he's a designer, and what he did, so you can see what I was talking about. So I know we're gonna keep forward, but I'm very surprised that your designer say they cannot. It's not something add, it's something similar what I'm saying to you, but I was saying to you, and you can see what exactly I was talking about. So
Okay.
next time, so you can have idea what was try to bring to the table. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, so if there's no other questions or concerns, I'm happy with this. And I appreciate Ms. Henry, Mr. Jeff, wherever you are, shout out to you for, making sure this all went well, putting it together and then staying on top of it. So definitely appreciate it. At this moment, I am going to entertain a motion to push this to the full board for possible approval.
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. This is one of our first ones that we can actually be happy about that we pushed to the full board. I'm so proud. Good job, team. Good job, everyone. Good job, Mr. Banahan, Ms. Castillo. Thank you. Please let the designers know that we appreciate
I absolutely will.
that opportunity, and please give our love to Mr. Jeff as well.
I'll pass it on.
You guys are great. Thank you. And we'll see how it does at the full board level.
Sounds good.
Other than that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I just have one
yes.
question.
Go ahead. Sorry, hold on, Mr. Banahan.
One question. Do we want to bring, I know we have the full board meeting on Monday. I also want to know, do you guys want us to bring colored copies just so people could see them aside from the board, but also to have them out there just in case there's any questions?
Yes.
So do you want this packet for the whole board showing the voting?
So I would love to see all of it within the packet, but they may want to flip through it at the meeting. So
I can make sure that and I'll make a full-size copy
Are we
with the
still in
green.
good time to, I don't know if we still.
We could just add.
We could just
It's
add-
72 hours, but you don't count that. It's tricky, but you can always add it. I don't see anybody saying, no, it's gonna be a short meeting anyway.
Okay. All right. So that's what we'll do. I'll work with Ms. Arlene to add the agenda item to the committee. But I do say put the full packet in there for those that will prefer it digitally. But I know Ms. Allen and specifically anyone that's going to be flipping through to see the difference between them.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will do
Yeah.
a full scale. This is the wrong colors, but I'll do a
Yeah.
full page version of it. Do you want this available to the public?
Yes.
So I will make it like this.
Yep.
Does that work with the full page?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the data is going to be good so the board can have the
Agreed.
chance to weigh out the options.
Agreed. I will prepare those for the Monday meeting. They'll be waiting for you at Aqua.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Now I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Benningham, I'll count his.
He wants to stay.
Any
Aye,
opposed?
aye, I'm okay.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. I'll see you all on Monday for our Monday meeting. Okay. All right.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.